You know something? I can't touch you without you touching me in return. I can't give you a shove without being shoved in return. I can't exert a force on anything without that anything exerting a force back on me. And that's the idea called Newton's third law. Whenever you push on something, that something pushes equally on you. Or we say, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. When object A pushes on object B will push on object A with the same magnitude of force in the opposite direction. Newton's law of action, reaction. We've talked about forces as pushes and pulls. Let's refine that a little bit. A force is an interaction. It's an interaction between one thing and another. Nothing contains force. A stick of dynamite. Does a stick of dynamite contain any force? Answer begins with a... Check the neighbor. Does a stick of dynamite contain force? Talk it up. Let's pick it up here. A stick of dynamite does not contain force. A stick of dynamite contains something we'll talk about later, energy, which then can provide forces. See? A force is an interaction between one thing and another. So things don't contain force. Remember the old movie Star Wars, where Obi-Wan Kenobi said, "Let the force be with you, Luke." Okay? To put it better would have been to said, "Let the energy be with you." Okay? Because strictly speaking, force is not something that something contains or possesses. A force is an interaction between one thing and another. Okay? My fingers right now, I'm bending them up. That's the most that I can bend my fingers up. I can't curl them anymore. Now I'm going to ask for some help. Could you push on my fingers, please? Now they're bent way up. My fingers are bent way up because she is exerting a force on them. True? But I can do the same thing with the wall. I could ask the wall to help me. Watch this. What's the wall doing to my fingers? What would your friends say? That I'm pushing the wall. Okay? Now, let's develop our thinking. Is that the end of the story? No. Yes, I am pushing the wall. Action. I push wall. What else is happening? The wall is pushing on me. And you have evidence of that because how else could my fingers be curled like that? See? You know, I lean against the wall, huh? Your friends come by and they say what? They say, "Hey, well, look at the guy leaning against the wall." Maybe that's all they see. You're physics types. You see that and more. What else do you see? You say, "Hey, look at the wall pushing on the guy." So you can understand that. Let's try this. Let's suppose we talk about tug of war. You know what tug of war is? People pulling on one side of a rope, people pulling the other side of the rope, and when they pull really tight, there's a tension force, isn't there? Let's suppose I put like a scale like this. Tie a rope on here, boom, rope on here. I ask these people down here, "Hey, you folks pull on the rope." These folks pull on the rope. What's going to happen to the scale reading? It's going to increase, isn't it? In fact, this is not a very good scale. What do? I tip it off at 20, what about 22 newtons is the tops, huh? What if I had a scale that would read like maybe 500 newtons? And I have these folks here pull with a force, maybe 400 newtons. Pull with a force, 400 newtons. Is it going to tip off or is it going to read? They pull 400 newtons. They pull 400 newtons. Reading on the scale going to be? Zero. Zero, huh? Okay. Got a home project for you. You had some friends pulling this arm with 400 newtons, and you say, "When you're pulling this 400 newtons, I'll give you the answer." Zero. Stop. It's not zero. There's a tension force in you more than zero. It might rip you apart. Okay? How much is it going to be? 400 or 800? Again? You people in here. You're copying them. Back types. Over here. Right over here. All right, I tell you what, gang, I tell you what. Most people say an 800. Okay, not quite physics types. We're going to make physics types out of it today. Watch this. 800, you say, huh? Okay. Let's suppose these people over here say, hey, sit down and take a rest. You take a rest, too. Let's suppose I draw a great big curtain here. Cut a little hole in the curtain. Put the rope through there, huh? Now put the scale out here, okay? And I say, oh, get ready, we're going to do it again. I'm going to have the other people hide behind the rope. They're shy. Behind the curtain, okay? They're going to hide behind the curtain. They're shy. Okay, and now I take the other end of the rope, and I bring it over, and I tie it on a hook attached firmly to the wall, okay? Now I say, okay, gang, we're all ready. Pull just like you did before. They pull just like they did before. How hard are they pulling? 400 newtons. What's the old scale going to read if you pull 400 newtons on it? What's the wall doing? Now, people will say, your friends will say, well, the wall holds the scale, just like these folks held the scale. Oh, almost had it. Almost had it. Almost had it. Okay, let's try it again. These folks over here pull until this thing reads 400. How hard are they pulling? Now it's attached to the wall. How hard is the rope pulling on the wall? What's the reaction? The wall's pulling on the rope. How hard? 400. If you pull on the wall with 400 newtons, will the wall really pull back at you with 400 newtons? Answer begins with a Y. Yes. The one who wins in the tug of war isn't the one who pulls the rope harder. It's the one who pushes against the ground harder. Think about that. I'll be asking you about that more some other time. When I walk along the floor, I push back on the floor. The floor pushes forward on me. When I get in a swimming pool, I push back on the water. I push the water back. Action. The water, in turn, pushes me forward. Reaction. See? Action, reaction. We move by reaction forces. You push on something, the other thing push on you. Car rides down the road, huh? The wheels turn, huh? The wheels push the dirt back, don't they? The wheels push the road that way, right? What's the road do to the wheels? Push the wheels which way? This way, you see? So when you see a car accelerating down the road, you can say to your friends, hey, wow, look at the road pushing the car along. True or false? True. Your friends say, no, 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 the car's pushing on the road. Say, true. But if you start to look further, you'll see there's more than meets the eye. Not only does the car, the tires, push on the road, reaction is the road pushes on the tires. So action, reaction. You can't have forces unless you have what? A two-ness. One thing acting another, the other acting back on it. And there's a little formula for that too, by the way. There's a little formula to tell when you know action, what is reaction, and it's so simple, let me share it with you now. It's simply this. If you want to say action is object A acts on object B, that's action. I push on floor. I push water. Tire pushes road. Reaction, then, is simply check the neighbor. B acts on A. See? You push water backward. Reaction. Water push you forward. Always equal and opposite. For example, when you're riding in your bike, let's suppose you don't have a 10-speed. Let's suppose you have just a simple type sprocket, and you're riding uphill. When you're riding uphill, don't you stand up and don't you pull up on the handlebar? Now you pull up on the handlebar. Can you give me the reaction to that force? You pull up on handlebar. Handlebar pull down on you. And that's why you do that. because when you pull up on the handlebar, can't you get more force on the sprocket? Right? That will pull you down against the sprocket, and you can then, therefore, do a better thing. It's like weighing yourself. I remember when I was a kid, it took me a long time before I could crack the 3-digit thing, I was weighed in the 90s, okay? Everyone here weighed in the 90s at one time, right? Is there anyone here that never weighed 98 pounds? Or maybe some people that haven't got it to it yet, but we all go through that. It took me a long time to go through that stage. And if I'm in the bathroom weighing myself and there's old 98 there, I don't want my friends come by and find out I'm only a 98-pounder. What could I do if they come in and there's not time to step off the scale? Here's the sink right here, okay? I can reach under the sink and pull up on sink. When I pull up on sink push down on me against the scale. Now, hey, look at that, 103, huh? Not bad. Okay? Well, let's suppose you have the opposite problem. Let's suppose you're overweight, and you're standing on a scale, okay, and someone comes by. What do? You push down on sink push up on you off the, hey, look, hey, all right, huh? Want to lose weight? Just push on sinks, okay? Here's a question that's a toughie to answer if it's not phrased right. Try this with some friends of yours that are into physics, and I'll bet they'll fall down on it, and it's this. Hold an object up and drop it. Say, was there a force acting that object? They'll say, yes, indeed there was, because I saw it accelerate. Okay. Tell me what the reaction is. If you use our recipe, you can get it. I submit if you don't use the recipe, you'll start introducing things like gravity, air resistance, bouncing off the ground, all that sort of thing. Is there anyone here who can clear this up a little bit? The question's kind of ambiguous if you say, there's a force acting on it, what's the reaction? The ambiguity is, hey, what do you mean there's a force on it? And properly speaking, what? The Earth gravitationally pulls on the chalk. Once you say it that way, Earth pulls on chalk. What's reaction? Then it's just simply, whoop, whoop, chalk pulls on Earth. When I drop this, as it's dropping, does it really pull the Earth up? Answer begins with a teeny, teeny y. Okay? Yeah, teeny, teeny bit, because there's a different mass involved. Can you kind of see that? Different mass. Take the case of, for example, firing a gun. Okay? I hate to use guns, but it makes for a nice physics thing. Take a gun and fire the gun. Bam! Any force act on the bullet? Yes. Okay, we could say, loosely speaking, the gun acts on the bullet, wham, away the bullet goes. What's the reaction? If gun acts on bullet, bullet acts on gun, and that's why the gun kicks. Okay? You all know that a gun kicks. Now let me ask you a question. Is it true that the force that drives the bullet down the barrel has the same magnitude, the same amount, as the force which drives the barrel back against the shooter's shoulder? And the answer is yes. It's true. Now, here's the bullet being driven down. Here's the force on the bullet. Here's the force on the gun. Same. Now what happened? You tell your friends this. They say, it's same. Same force acts on the bullet as the gun. Turn it around and fire it and see if it's the same. They're thinking the effects are going to be different, and that's true. The effects are going to be different, but the force is the same. Which changes its state of motion more so, the bullet or the gun? The bullet. Why? Because it's a greater force? No, because it's a lesser mass. Here's the mass of the bullet. So here's the acceleration of the bullet. Here's the mass of the gun. So here's the acceleration of the gun back against the shoulder. Quite small. Only because the mass is big. Let's suppose you're caught in the wrong country at the wrong time, and they put you in handcuffs, and they put you up against a blood-stained big concrete wall, and they're just going to put a blindfold on you, and you see that you're next. And some honcho type comes out, and he's got all ribbons here, and he's got a hat with a little eagle, and he's got birds here and everything. They're all shined up, shiny boots. He comes out with a high-powered rifle, and he stands in front of you, and you know he's going to do you in. Whew! He says to you, hey, we're not barbarians. You can at least have one last wish. And you say, one last wish? My wish is this. My wish is not to be shot with so tiny a bullet. My wish is to be shot with a humongously massive bullet, more massive than the gun from which is fired, and I want you to pull the trigger. Do you get it? You know, it's a question of like a dog. A dog wags the tail, huh? How about the dog got a little teeny tail? Dog got a little teeny tail. Teet, 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 just the tail moves, right? How about the dog got a very massive tail? Ever notice? Whap, 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 whap. I mean, what's wagging what? Okay? How much motion you get depends on not only the force, but how much mass. Get it? You know, when you step off the curbstone, you know you fall down to the curbstone. But dig this. That street comes ever so slightly up to meet you. Not very much. That's because it's an awfully massive, massive world you're stepping on, okay? Watch, I jump up. How many felt the world recoil? Okay? Now, if the world were very, very low in mass, compared to me, you would feel the recoil, wouldn't you? Okay? Like getting a spaceship out there and start doing some jumping. The Skylab types, where they jump inside the ship, and sure enough, the ship recoils. On the Earth, the effect is so small, it can't be noticed. But strictly speaking, it's there. You're stuck on the ice, right in the middle of the ice-covered pond. You can't get off. How can you do? Well, if you saw a tree branch, you could pull on the branch. You pull on the branch pull on you, and off you'd go, okay? But there is no tree branch. There's no stick. In fact, the ice is so slick, and you are so slick, that you can't develop any friction. How can you get off the ice-covered pond? Any ideas? Let's suppose there was a big rock there, and you grabbed the rock. What could you do? How about you throw the rock? Will you recoil? Why? You will exert a force on the rock, and you see the rock go. Is that the end of the story? What's the rest of the story? The rock will exert a force on you and make you recoil, and there you go, okay? That's the way a rocket works, by the way. We talked about the gun kicking. What does a rocket do? A rocket is throwing out gas particles. Rocket pushes on exhaust gas. Action. What's reaction? Exhaust gases push back on rocket, and that's why it can move in a vacuum. You see, a rocket doesn't push against the atmosphere or the launching pad or the air to get its propulsion. A rocket does what? A rocket pushes on exhaust gas, action, rocket push on gas, reaction, gas push on rocket, away it goes. In fact, it will work better in a place where there is no air drag, no resistance. You'll get maximum acceleration in a vacuum. You have to have a reaction to get an action. Take a piece of paper like this. Ask the champion of the whole world to hit this paper with a force of, say, let's take British units, 50 pounds. Say, hey, champ, you hit this paper with a force of 50 pounds, I'll give you $1 million. Can do? Is there a man alive could hit that paper with 50 pounds of force? Answer is no. No one can hit this paper with 50 pounds of force. I don't care how hard they slug. HC. Because the paper is not capable of giving a reaction of 50 pounds. A force is an interaction. You can't interact with this with any more force than this will interact with you. So you can't hit that with 50 pounds. With what it is capable of reacting. Well, that's right. Now, let's suppose you took this piece of paper and you held it up against the wall. Boom, huh? then you would have the 50 pounds and then some, right? Hey, by the way, let's suppose someday you do that. You just get mad, whatever, and you, boom, your hand's all banged up, it's all bandaged, all gnarled. You're like this, you know. And people say, hey, what happened to your hand? Now, do you have to take the blame? Do you have to say, oh, what a fool I am, I hit the wall? You don't have to take the blame. What can you say now that you know physics? Hey, the wall hit my hand. Look what that wall did to my hand. Watch out for that thing. True or false? True. See, if you shove the world around, the world's going to shove you back. If you touch the world gently, how's the world going to touch you? Gently. What you give is what you get. And that's what Newton's third law is about. Can I see that? Now, let's try a couple of questions. We talk about the tug of war. Oh, where's my little string? Right here. One kilogram weighs almost 10 newtons, 9.8 to be exact, right? The pulley will change the direction of the force, and we see it's still 10 newtons, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put another weight on the other side. I'll put this like this, and this like this, and this like this, and I want you to tell me, what is the reading in back of there? And what's the answer? Dun, da, da, da. Okay, 10 newtons. Got it? Check your friends on that one. Okay? Okay, I got another one for you. Try this. Horse. Angry farmer. Shaking fist at horse. Horse supposed to be pulling cart. Cart heavily loaded with vegetables. Gonna go to town and sell them, huh? Farmer says to horse, giddy up. Horse says to farmer, why giddy up? He says, if I pull in the cart with a force, due to Newton's third law, going to be equal and opposite force, the cart going to pull on me with exactly the same force. Those forces going to cancel out. Net force going to be zero. There's no way to get to town. So I might as well just stay right here and eat this grass. Farmers say, you say, could you convince the horse that if the horse pulls, you really will get to town? Can do? You know can do. Explain how can do? Can you explain how can do? Think about that. Think about that. I'll be asking you about that again. Okay.